The most powerful new ranger in Power Rangers Zeo, the one with the golden staff and his own theme music, was almost the last guy you'd have ever picked. Not the leader, not the hotshot, the nerd. The guy in glasses who built the communicators and translated everyone else's science homework. Billy was supposed to be the Gold Ranger. That's not a fan theory. That's what the show actually set up. The powers were offered to him first, and then one line of dialogue, one throwaway piece of technobabble, took it all away and handed it to somebody else. Today, we're going to pull on that thread. What if Billy had actually become the Gold Ranger? Because the moment he does, one of the most beloved comebacks in the whole franchise stops existing, and the most overlooked Ranger on the team finally gets the ending he was owed. Let's get into it. Before we play the what if, you have to understand who Billy actually was, because he's the easiest original Ranger to underrate. If Jason was the muscle and Tommy was the lightning rod, Billy was the reason the team functioned at all. He was the brains, the inventor, the one who built the communicators strapped to everybody's wrists, who upgraded the tech, who understood the Zords on a level nobody else even pretended to. When something needed fixing, when a plan needed a genius in the room, it was Billy. Every single time. And here's the part that makes him special. He started as the least likely hero on the team. No martial arts, nervous, the kid who got picked on, and he worked. He trained, he grew, he turned himself into someone who could actually stand next to Jason and Tommy in a fight. Billy's whole arc is the underdog who earns it. He's the one you're supposed to root for because he wasn't handed anything. Now hold that thought, because here's where it gets a little sad. By the time Power Rangers Zeo rolls around, Billy is the last one standing. Think about that. Jason, Zach, and Trini walked away mid-Mighty Morphin. Kimberly left near the end of Season 3. Out of the original 5 teenagers Zordon chose, only Billy made it into the next era. The last original Ranger. The final thread connecting Zeo all the way back to Day of the Dumpster. And what does the show do with him? It takes away his suit. When the team levels up into the Zeo powers, everybody gets a new identity, a new color, a new Zord. Everybody except Billy. He doesn't get a Zeo crystal. He gets a headset. He becomes the guy in the power chamber reading the monitors and calling out the monster's weak spot while his friends go fight. The brain of the team, the last original hero, quietly demoted from Ranger to tech support. He went from morphing every week to watching everyone else do it. So that's where Billy is when the Gold Ranger shows up. Sidelined, benched, still the smartest person in the room, but no longer in the fight. Keep that in your head, because it's about to matter a lot. Okay, the Gold Ranger. If you were a kid watching Zeo, this was the big mystery of the season. Out of nowhere, a 6th Ranger appears. Gold armor, a golden staff, fighting on the Ranger's side but refusing to say who he is. For weeks, the show dangles it. Who is the Gold Ranger? And the answer is not a person from Earth at all. The Gold Ranger is Trey of Triforia, an alien prince from a distant world. And Trey is unusual, even by Power Ranger standards. Because Trey isn't one being, he's 3. 3 bodies, 3 aspects, 1 soul. Trey of heart, Trey of wisdom, and Trey of courage. Here's the problem that kicks off our whole story. Trey gets ambushed by the Machine Empire, and the attack splits his 3 selves apart. And when Trey is split, he can't hold the gold power safely anymore. It's leaking, it's unstable. If he doesn't do something, he loses it for good. So Trey makes a decision. He needs to hand the Gold Ranger powers to a human on Earth, temporarily. Someone who can be a caretaker, keep the powers alive and protected, just until Trey can pull himself back together. And who does he pick? Who does the show walk up to first, before anybody else? Billy. Of course it's Billy. It's the perfect choice, and the show knows it. He's the last original Ranger. He's the one who lost his suit. He's the smartest, steadiest, most trustworthy person on the team, and he spent the whole season on the sidelines, wishing he was back in the fight. The gold powers walk right up to the exact person who deserves a second chance the most. It's set up like a gift. Like the show is finally about to pay Billy back. And then it doesn't. Because when they go to make the transfer, there's a complication. Billy, it turns out, had been exposed to something called negative proton energy. And that exposure makes him incompatible with the gold power. If he takes it, the transfer fails. It won't hold. It might even be dangerous. One line, one piece of made-up science. Negative proton energy. And just like that, the powers that were meant for Billy slip right out of his hands. So Billy does the most Billy thing imaginable. He doesn't sulk, he doesn't fight it. He looks at the situation, thinks about who could actually carry this, and he makes the call himself. He recommends someone else. He says, "Get Jason." And that's the moment. That's the hinge this entire video swings on. Because Jason comes back. The original Red Ranger, the first leader of the team, returns to become the Gold Ranger in an episode literally called A Golden Homecoming. And for fans, this was enormous. The guy who started it all, back in a suit, with a brand new power and his own dramatic entrance. It is one of the most celebrated comebacks the franchise ever did. People still talk about Jason's Gold Ranger run. But I want you to sit with the mechanics of it for a second, because it's wild. That entire beloved comeback, Jason returning as the Gold Ranger, only happens because Billy couldn't take the job. Jason is the backup. Jason is Plan B. The most famous return in Zeo exists purely because of one line of technobabble that ruled Billy out. Remove that one problem, and history rewrites itself. So let's rewrite it. Let's say there's no negative proton energy. No complication. The transfer works. Billy becomes the Gold Ranger. Think about what that does. Instantly, the saddest arc on the team flips into the best one. The last original Ranger, the one they turned into a lab assistant, straps on gold armor and walks back into the fight as the single most powerful Ranger on the roster. The underdog story comes full circle. The kid who had no business being a hero in episode 1 ends the journey holding the strongest coin on the team. That's not just a fun swap. That's the emotional payoff Billy's entire character was building toward. And the show had it sitting right there and passed on it. And the ripple effects are everywhere. If Billy is gold, Jason never comes back. That iconic homecoming, gone. Which means the whole back half of Zeo looks different. Because Jason's return wasn't just a costume. It reshaped the team's dynamic, gave them a heavy hitter, changed the fights. Take Jason out of that equation and hand the staff to Billy instead, and you've got a completely different Gold Ranger. Not a warrior stepping up. A scientist stepping up. Imagine Billy fighting with that golden staff the way he approached everything else. All strategy, all precision, outthinking the machine empire instead of outpunching them. That's a Gold Ranger we never got to see. Now, I have to be honest with you, because there's a catch, and it's a big one. The Gold Ranger power was never meant for a human to hold long term. When Jason had it, it slowly started to drain him. His own life force, leaking away, because a human body just can't contain that kind of energy forever. It nearly killed him. In the end, Trey had to come back, re-merge his 3 selves, and take the powers back to save Jason's life. So here's the uncomfortable question our what if has to ask. If the power drained Jason, would it have drained Billy too? Honestly, we don't know. That's me speculating now, so take it as a fan wondering out loud, not fact. Maybe Billy, being Billy, would have studied the drain, understood it, found a way to stabilize it that a fighter like Jason never would have. Or maybe the smartest Ranger on the team ends up in the exact same trap, watching his own borrowed power slowly burn him down. Both versions are a little haunting. Both of them are a better story than what Billy actually got. Because here's what Billy actually got. And this is the part that's real, so I want to handle it carefully. The reason Billy's role kept shrinking, the reason he got turned into tech support and then written out of the show entirely, wasn't really about the story. Behind the scenes, the actor who played him, David Yost, left the show during Zeo. And years later, he spoke openly about why. About being treated badly on set. He's talked about it with a lot of grace since, and it's his story to tell, not mine. So I'm going to leave it right there and just say this. The guy gave that character everything, and the character deserved a better send-off than the one the show gave him. In the actual show, they wrote Billy out with a rapid aging problem and shipped him off to the planet Aquitar to be healed. And he just stayed there, gone. No gold armor, no comeback, No moment. The last original Ranger, the brain of the whole operation, exits stage left to a planet we barely see. And that's it. That's the goodbye. Which is exactly why this what if hits the way it does. Because Billy as the Gold Ranger isn't some random hypothetical. It's the ending that was genuinely set up and then taken away at the last second. The show walked the powers right up to him. It let us feel, for a moment, like the underdog was finally gonna get his crown. And then one line of dialogue pulled it back. So, in our timeline, the one where the transfer works, Billy gets to be what he always quietly was. Not the sidekick, not the support guy. The most powerful Ranger on the team. The genius who earned it. Holding the gold, standing in the front of the fight instead of behind a monitor. It's the goodbye he should have gotten. And the franchise had it in its hands. So that's the what if. Billy takes the gold powers, Jason's famous comeback never happens, and the most underrated Ranger in the whole show finally gets to be the hero the underdog story was always promising. Now I want to hear from you, because this one's made for it. Was Billy your favorite original Ranger? Would you have wanted him as the Gold Ranger, staff and all? Or is Jason's comeback too iconic to give up? Tell me down in the comments. I read every single one, and honestly, the Billy fans always show up for these. And before you go, 3 quick things. First, don't click away yet. I've got a full breakdown of another original Rangers story sitting right there on your screen. Go watch that one next. Second, if you enjoyed this, hit the hype button under the video. It's free, and it genuinely helps this channel reach more people who grew up on this stuff. And third, if you want more what-ifs and real stories like this one, subscribe and stick around. Billy was the smartest guy in every room he was ever in. He built the tech, he trained himself into a fighter, he outlasted every single one of the friends he started with. And when the biggest power in the season came looking for a hero, it came looking for him first. He should have been the Gold Ranger. The show knew it, and for one line of dialogue, so did we.